putting that.
Okay, so we can go ahead and get started with the approval of the October meeting minutes. Did everyone have an opportunity, or I'll put it the other way, did anyone not have an opportunity to, to review the meeting minutes? We have a motion to accept the meeting minutes as written.
I'll make one. Second.
So the October 14th meeting minutes will be accepted as written. Okay, so we will go into our committee reports. Is Tanya online?
No, I do not see. Or Amy. They had not indicated they wouldn't be.
Okay, so we'll move into the Domestic Violence Planning Council. I know Amy was running late, but Mark, you're starting.
It's parking, but I'll start.
Okay.
I don't have much to say. Their next meeting is scheduled for January 9th. So more to update the next CJCC meeting. The DV unit at Baltimore County Department of Social Services has been doing lots of training. They trained about 600 people in the last month. All the child support staff from across the state on DV rules around child support. They also trained, they trained another group of about 50 people. I can't remember which group that was. So they're out trying to spread the word about how to screen appropriately for domestic violence, how to help people navigate the child support system. And that's been well received. This is the second year they've been asked to do that for all state child support employees from all 24 counties. So that's all I have.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we'll move right into our presentation. We have Major Fisher here with us from the police department. And so we're going to go into a new topic series on domestic violence. And recently the protective order system transferred to an electronic system. And I know a couple people here have been involved in that process, and it's a topic of interest. So we wanted Major Fisher to come and kind of give us a rundown on the new system.
Morning. So this kind of started a couple different ways. It can't really each organization at all. The three main stakeholders were obviously the court being the largest, the police department, and also the 911 communication center. The process that was in place was pretty heavy lift to those organizations when it came to transporting the physical order to police for service. So we heard about the Maryland electronic court system. Clerk's office and the court was using it increasingly as their electronic system of record. The police was just barely getting into that. We also looked at our workload analysis. Chief McCullough had challenged us to look at things we were doing to do more efficiently. And one of those was the number of relays he was doing every year. They were thousands of calls for service. We were going courts, physically relay orders from the court to the police department, then relay them out to county for service. It was a manual process. It was very time consuming. It wasn't very efficient. And these are civil orders from the court, usually for domestic violence, right? So the temporary protective orders and then the permanent orders once they're granted. We first met in December of 2023, and Maria was there. Her and I looked at each other. We just kind of scratched our heads like, where did we need to start with this? So it really was kind of a daunting task at that time. We both were just starting to use MVAC. We didn't really see a path forward at that time. We continued to have conversations, talk about it, and moving forward. Deputy Administrator Officer Young got involved with her team. Judge Wilson was instrumental in getting appellate court, I forget the judge's name, but it was instrumental in starting that, who was a true champion for us trying to make this happen. And at that point, it really was, hey, let's get our heads together, let's find our individual subject matter experts and figure out how we can complete this process, because it really was a huge strain on each of our organizations. And then again, for our constituents, for those who were getting orders filed, it just wasn't efficient to serve those orders as quickly as possible. Next slide, please. So that's just an overview of each of the 3 district boards, number of relays we were doing. And it was a huge toll on manpower. It wasn't just picking up orders from the board, physically relaying staff around the county, precincts like that where they were actually served, was just very efficient. Next slide, please. So this was the original process. The orders were actually issued by the court. The court had gone to an electronic system, but for that process, they were putting out a copy. Again, hugely inefficient. And what we also found that there was batching at each level. So the clerk's office would wait till they had a number of orders ready, and they'd call 911. 911 would have to put them on hold until they had availability to take their call and get all of this detailed information. Sometimes taking as much as a half an hour, 45 minutes to get this information from the clerk's office. Once 911 got this information, they would have one more so that they could get a police unit in service that could then pick them up. So at every phase, and then even after that, once the police got these orders, they would come to our record staff, who they would batch, and they would hold on to it all of them at one time to then ensure they were relayed out. So with all of that, we saw sometimes hours, sometimes an entire shift might pass before that order got to the place it needed to attempt a service. The other issue was we would, just trying to be thoughtful, we would return an order to the court by fax, by email. We would send a stack over, think about character. There were just so many different ways we were sending these orders to the court. They were getting the first one, but they would have to then check every copy and make sure they didn't have it. In many cases, they did. So unfortunately, there was a huge reduction of efforts on their side. Next slide, please. So this is how we came to the new process. The new process allowed us that once that order is signed by the judge and shows up in the basically inbox for the court, it's able to be sent electronically to the police department. Through other meetings, May 1st, as the advisor pointed out, there are some possible concerns that every department member could enter into these cases as a party and get a bunch of extra emails and updates. So we really had to carve out the process for how this works. So that the department got notified of this pending order without being a part of that case in perpetuity. So we were able to figure that out through a lot of conversations, and we all kind of identified our subject matter experts to work through this process. So now, once that order is signed electronically, the 911 center was able to be kind of the process completely. They were a huge partner. They did a lot of great work for us, but they have a lot of other work to do concerning emergency calls. And so this was something we were to take off of their plate completely. It then was a direct process between the court and the police department. It shows up in an inbox in the police department's record section. Is monitored 24/7, 365. We're able to immediately get that order, enter into NCIC, so any officer who runs into that person knows they're going to stand order. And also it lets us run a preliminary record check to see if there's any cautions that the serving officer needs to know. It's then immediately sent directly to the precinct via secure email. That's something else that was a barrier first for us. We did not have an encrypted connection to the court initially when we talked about this project, which made any orders of documents we sent a potential cybersecurity risk. And also information technology was able to create a secure pipeline between Baltimore County government and the Maryland judiciary, which is another reason that we were able to do this in a secure, efficient manner. So that sent to us via secure email. We were able to then send it to the precinct. It's logged in immediately, and officers are able to attempt service within many cases half an hour, 20 minutes. When previously you were looking at getting an entire shift, possibly longer. Officers actually on the street attempt to serve that order. Now, once that order is expired or returned, it doesn't get sent to the court 3 different ways. It shows up directly in that portal. So the court knows the status of it immediately. It allows us to provide much better and more timely updates to a person who's gotten an order to the petitioner. Once it's got an update, we know almost in real time the status. Whereas previously it was much more difficult to get that information. There were other partners here that we realized there were some orders we got from circuit court. And so we had contacted the circuit court clerk's office and Judge Robinson. And we kind of were, hey, we're watching this in 2 weeks. And they were on board. They got their process up and running. They would have joined us in it. Spoke to the sheriff's office about it. They were very supportive. When I talk about batching, there's one thing now that we're doing with the Baltimore County Detention Center, where we often find orders for people incarcerated there. They've been very helpful in getting 3 or 4 people at a time available to us to go and serve them all at once. So we also have to go on there, one at a time to serve these orders. So fixing that relay process, that initial process, how we get them from court, now to kind of drill down other areas we can be more efficient in the process and places we can provide better information. We're looking going forward, tracking how many attempts we're making, how long it takes us to serve them, what is our success rate in serving initial orders. Those are all metrics that we're interested in trying to be more efficient with this process. Next slide. And that's the number of orders that were served in red. Lower the attempts, but many are served on the first attempt, and not all of our attempts are wrong. But it just shows kind of by precincts. The Towson precinct has a higher number, partially maybe because of the detention center. But the central part of the county is the highest number of persons that are served. And then some precincts we can look at this because of the size of the precinct, the number of officers assigned, we serve more orders there. That was just for us, kind of a thumbnail glance at how successful we are, how many orders we serve. Next slide, please.
Good.
Any questions?
Thank you, Wes, for all your work, and to all the partners here. I know that this was a huge lift and took a very long time, but I think certainly valuable for everyone that's involved in this process. So thank you so much for all your work. Go ahead.
So I'm Kim Miranda with Baltimore City Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, and just second meeting that is just came on the first year. We're trying to do this in Baltimore City. Our police department really so
You've had a little,
roadblocks.
oh, roadblocks.
So Chief Judge Morrissey been involved with this process as far as the BPD's really had a lot of roadblocks trying to get through to get the feeling from them. They've done their use case. I don't know exactly what the summary was. How long did it take this process?
Once we got it moving and kind of had a framework, it was about 6 months to get all right together, policy written, training.
It may be that they need to reach out to the JIS team, Judicial Information Systems team, because we had a dedicated group of people from JIS who worked just on helping us get through some of those hiccups that can happen with the electronic system. So I'm just wondering if that might be part of the problem. I'm not sure. Judge Morrissey did sort of jump on at the very beginning, but after that, he sort of left it to all of us to work through all the details. So maybe that's.
I can't. The obstacle certainly is the front. You know, have this as a law enforcement agency. County as a law enforcement agency, it has the people. He gets the warrant, people just don't know how. So. This is super helpful. I'm so glad.
And can I just pat the Baltimore County Police Department on the back on this, because I'm now getting emails, and I apologize, I'm struggling with a cold, the cold. I'm now getting emails from other counties, administrative judges who are asking me, can we get involved in this same process? Frederick County has reached out to me. So apparently the word has gotten out that you are able to do this, and other law enforcement is interested in doing the same thing. So it was wonderful working together, and I just thank you all so much for your consistent can-do attitude, even though we hit a couple roadblocks. it never stopped the process. So thank you very much.
Well, I want to thank you also for being a champion for the police department in this too, because constantly Major Fisher and my entire team spoke about the support that they got from you specifically for this project. So I want to thank everybody that participated. I want to thank Major Wes Fisher for making it happen. I just want to highlight two important things here because he talked about the thousands of calls for service. You know, it was at one point, it was up to 8,000 calls for service a year just for relays, but they were just the calls for service. Now, each call for service could account for anywhere from up to either 2 to 3 hours for a relay, depending on where it was going and how many officers were involved. So, I mean, it took away a lot of man hours where our people were dedicating time to, and it was something that they really, really wanted. And we got tremendous feedback from our personnel. We've, you know, freed up a lot of their dedicated time to become undedicated time for other things. The other thing is that I know there were some people that had concerns about whether these things were being served on people that were going to be housed at the detention center. And once again, you know, you guys are always an efficient partner of ours. That's always open and working with us. And thank you to our detention center for the work that they've been doing themselves.
Anyone else have any other questions for Major Fisher?
Just a point of clarification, does this process applies to the extreme risk protective orders?
It does. We weren't sure initially you do it at launch, but we were able to do it.
So this is just making the entire system more effective, more efficient, and just bettering the processes. And we continue, even though we've increased these efficiencies, we're also, you know, just, you know, I'm looking at the graphs and I'm specifically looking at Essex and Dundalk, where we know we have a lot of domestic violence. And as a department, I'm looking saying, hey, we can do better in those areas in terms of our attempts and our service specifically in those communities.
I'm just curious, but is there any other areas of service where it mimics the old model that hasn't really transitioned to this?
So we're looking at that right now. One is transferring of agencies. Right? So we get to work for city, water states, from Fulton County. That's going to be done at least through back. So there's some of the time there. But if any court documents, we can keep that same system, same process, that more efficient. Those are nothing to this level that's such a huge time saver. I don't think it's so other things.
Thank you again. So did everyone get a chance to sign the sign-up sheet? Okay. Does anyone have any roundtable updates for the group?
I have one. Just real quick, I want to thank Chief, the state's attorney, the health officer, the three of them and me. We sit on the board for the Child Advocacy Center. Child Advocacy Center just completed its tri-annual accreditation. Site visit was last month. Chief and state's attorney came down to Drumcastle and sat with the accreditors over an hour, chatted with them about the good work that's being done there. Really appreciate that. We got glowing reviews from the on-site visit. We don't have the piece of paper yet with our final accreditation decision, but I'm confident we will once again be accredited. So just wanted to thank the group.
On November 30th, Sunday, November 30th, we had our transfer of services from MedMark, our MAP provider, to Prime Care. So Prime Care does our medical for all the facility, but now they also do have our MAP programming. That's been up just over a week and a half, and it's been going good so far. So happy with that.
Yeah. Any other updates? So today was a little short of a meeting, but we don't want to take up any more of your time. So the February meeting will continue the domestic violence topic. We're still working on the specific discussion points, but we will advise you all in the coming months once we have a firm update. So with that, do I have a motion to adjourn today's meeting?
No one wants to say.
I just want to say happy holidays, Merry Christmas, happy Hanukkah to everyone.
Happy holidays.
Still need that motion.
We wanted to end.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
So that was it.